and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Please be seated. We have two meetings tonight, so this is opening our first meeting, which is the RBBCSC Board of Finance meeting. And the first order of business would be we need to elect the president and the secretary, so we need a nomination for president.
I nominate Dana Kerr.
I'll second.
Nominated, seconded. Any further nominations? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Election carries. And now for secretary. Do we have a nomination for secretary?
Who do we have now?
I think
I nominate Larry DeMoss.
nominated and seconded. Any further nominations? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nominations confirmed. Now we will look at the designation of our depositories, and for that we'll turn to Mr. Irwin.
So this resolution designates the places that we will bank and set up accounts with. This list currently reflects who we are actually using, and we're very pleased with the services that they offer and the way things are going there. Christine has also revised or reviewed this document as well for any necessary revisions, so asking for your approval, please.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Thank you very much for the detailed report. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And now the report of our previous year investments and financial report. Mr. Irwin.
Yeah, so in the board packet, in the memo, listed out the actuals of what occurred. Most of this you see on a monthly basis. I reflect that in the education fund cash flows that you receive. But again, it lists out the interest that was earned in each account, whether that's the education fund, the GEO bond funds, the scholarship accounts, or the Sun Life dividends account. The total of the interest earned amongst all accounts together was $729,264.06. This was $66,769.07 higher than what it was the year before cumulatively. Again, the funds that are in the education fund and Sun Life dividends fund, those are in the education fund. Everything else stays in its respective funds, as is stated in the resolution that you guys had passed before. And again, this is something that we've continued to, have a great rate of return on our cash as we keep it in the bank with interest rates. So doing well there. The other piece that I gave you on your desk there's the pieces from the DUAB fiscal indicators. This is something that back in 2020, all school corporations in the state of Indiana are required to talk about and submit a report on the fiscal and qualitative indicators. I gave you guys the link to that website as well where you can list that. This data lags a little bit, so the data that's on there dates back to 2023. So part of the purpose that this came about was to make sure that school corporations were reviewing and understanding the direction of the school corporation as it related financially. And one of the things that we do every month takes care of this above and beyond. We're giving you monthly outputs of cash flows. I'm giving you projections of where we are going to be at the end of that year or the next year. And so we're kind of going above and beyond all of this. Most of this information you're getting updates on as it happens in real time throughout the year as well. So again, you're very well up to date. Everything in here is lagging data. So again, you're very well aware of the ADM reports as far as our ADM continues to remain steady and slightly growing. And you guys have even gotten an updated report on the expectations of enrollment with an enrollment projection study. The annual deficit surplus, so back in 2023, it would have showed a deficit in total funds. And again, that is something that we are very well aware of. Over 1.8 million of that was the eating into cash of the debt service fund. That was a result of us lowering our tax rate and eating up some of our available cash balance, as well as the state legislator reducing the amount of money that we're able to hold in that fund. That accounts for a large portion of it, as well as federal funds and stimulus funds are always reimbursables as well. So we're expending those funds and waiting for reimbursement as time goes on. So that accounts for that. In that year, we saw cash balance gains in the education fund and the operations fund, and the debt service fund continues to remain right where we want it to be. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when I get into the cash flows report during the regular board meeting. But again, you guys are getting up-to-date information every single month. You're getting actuals as some of those big pieces are coming in every single month throughout the year. And again, the purpose of why this came about was to make sure that school corporations and boards were aware and seeing this information, because not everybody does this the way that we do it in our regular board meetings.
Dr. Sanders, I just want to reflect back on this a little bit. I talked to Matt, or Mr. Irwin, about this the other day. Your first year superintendent was when?
2018.
And that's when they were coming down, there was a DUAB conflict back about that time frame, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then since that time, with Paul being involved and with Matt's guidance, we've got this thing turned around in the right direction.
Oh, definitely so.
Okay, but that's what the first, I didn't even know what DUAB was until 2018. And every time I hear the word DUAB, I get nervous.
It definitely gets your attention when
Right.
they're contacting you. But we had already, by the time they contacted us, probably it'd be early 2019, that we had already started implementing some new measures, and I remember that they were already impressed with a lot of things that we were doing as a board and as administration.
Okay.
If you look at the fund balance as a percentage of expenditures, I think that's an important bar chart to look at. In 2018, it was 3.4%. And in 2023, it was 30.7%. That is a tremendous increase in our fund balances, which has gotten us and kept us healthy.
Right, right. I know our enrollment has not exploded that much, but I told Mr. Irwin, I'm nervous right now with what's going on with the legislature and some of their proposals. I know Mr. DeMoss is staying on top of that.
That's all the more reason why we continue to make sure that we have good cash balances so that we're able to adjust and react to some of the things that might come our way, as well as to continue to keep the flexibility as it relates to our debt service fund and some of those other pieces, or how we've handled GO bonds and taking care of some of the bigger surprise needs that could come up, whether that's HVAC or things going on with our buildings. So we've continued, I think, to set ourselves up for a place that we, even if something gets thrown our way that's unexpected, we're able to navigate that and have time to react to it before it becomes an even larger issue.
I think another thing I mentioned to Mr. Irwin is our, we were blessed to have good interest earned this year on some of that bond money. And I don't know if that's something we can discuss at some point about possibly channeling that into the rainy day fund for those type of emergencies versus, I think, back into the GO bond fund, correct?
Not into the GO bond. The GO bond ones stay in the GO bond, but as far as the education fund, and I can, as I work on the 2025s and bring you guys some of that stuff in the upcoming board meetings, I could even put something in there and say, hey, if we did X amount, here's the possible effect that it might have. As far as taking funds from the education to the rainy day fund, we currently have 1.2 million in rainy day. And again, back in 2018, 2019, we didn't have any. So we've continued to set ourselves up in a good place, and so we can look at that. When you guys get the next cash flows every year, I don't count on the type of interest that we earned on cash because rates fluctuate. So that amount of money isn't always accounted for to say we don't get this amount of interest on investments, then all of a sudden we're having issues making payroll or something like that. That's not ever factored into that. We take a conservative estimate of saying, hey, we think we'll have about this much, but I don't ever, if you went back and looked at historicals of what I did with interest, I wasn't counting on $414,000 in the education fund to make sure that we may do.
Okay.
So.
Thanks.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, please let the record reflect that all board members were present for the Board of Finance meeting. And with that, the Board of Finance meeting is adjourned, and RBB School Board meeting for January 2025 is now in session. We've already done the pledge. Please let the record reflect that all board members are present. Are there any visitors that would like to make comments? Nope. So the Mustang moment will not occur today because of the weather. No use getting the EPS kids especially out this evening in this cold, frigid weather. So glad that they can stay home, and we'll get with them another time. So the consent agenda has the approval for minutes of December 16th, 2024, which is the regular board meeting. The financial report for the treasurer's report for December 2024. And Mr. Durnall, the claims, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. For gross wages on 12/6 of 2024 is $841,992.22. For gross wages on December 13th, 2024, $94,567.50. For gross wages on 12/20/2024, $859,340.79, for a total of $1,795,100.51. Claims and prepays for 12/1/2024 through 12/31/2044 is $5,240,074.78. For claims on regular vouchers on January 21st, 2025, $369,299.34 for $5,609,374.112 for a grand total of $7,404,474.63. Please excuse my voice.
Thank you very much for that. That's a lot of numbers. Okay, now we have personnel, resignations, retirements, non-renewal leaves, and terminations, C1 through 6, and personnel appointments and transfers, D through 1 through 11. And happy to have a donation of $463.94 from Donors Choose to the Stephanie's Truax class for class supplies. That's awesome. Donors Choose has been a great supporter of our schools, and the use of that is encouraged amongst the teachers. And there is an out-of-state overnight field trip. And Dr. Sanders, would you like to?
Yes, the junior high would be over here to help present this, but there's a show choir preview night, so they're busy. But this is for the junior high accelerated band, the jazz band, and the show choirs, a trip to Kings Island. And it's the whole purpose of it is to a reward trip at the end of their season. This will be May 3rd. It's a Saturday, and so recommend your approval for this field trip.
Okay, so do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
I would move approve it of the consent agenda.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I just note that Justin Barger, we see the resignation on there, that I'm thrilled to know that he's resigning in order to take another position. He's going to be our new JAG sponsor, and I think he's perfect for the job, so I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. Awesome.
Number 2 on that, too. Is that somehow related to number 1? Is that his wife
I don't know.
going into the JAG program also?
The number 2, Haley?
Yeah. Well, we expanded the
No.
JAG program at the high school, and
Okay,
then
that's
we
not-
have the program at the junior high.
Okay.
Awesome. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Assistant Superintendent's report. Before we get there, I want to thank the Coffee
Yes.
Corral for these. I should have done this very beginning. Sorry, I didn't. It is School Board Appreciation Month, apparently, so the Coffee Corral jumped in and supplied us all with wonderful drinks this evening. So thank you to the Coffee Corral. Appreciate them and all those that helped them along the way. Okay, I'm sorry about that, Mr. Irwin.
You guys have the closeout cash flows for 2024. Education fund closed out a little higher than last month, what I showed you. Main part of this is I showed the transfer of the closure of the 900 fund into the education fund. Remember that the legislative changes closed out the 900 fund, which was the curriculum material fund, pushes everything into the education fund, and then all those expenses will run through the education fund starting in 2025. And so that was a little over $100,000 that got transferred into the education fund. As you saw, revenue on the interest on investments remained very high. We just talked about that during the Board of Finance meeting. It's been a great thing for our funds. Again, for next year's projections, for, I should say, this year's 2025's projections, again, not counting on to see that every month. But again, that's been a great thing for us. We are encumbering $550,000 of appropriation. Remember, appropriation is just authority to spend. We're pulling that over into the 2025 budget to give appropriation cushion. That's something that we've been doing the last few years. It helps us avoid, extra paperwork or processes or things like that. And, we make changes with staffing, or we do things with bargaining or whatever it is that we're doing. It allows us to have cushion and appropriation so that we're not coming back and doing extra paperwork there. Debt service fund, we ended the year with an appropriation. We got our December settlement of property taxes. We collected all of our levy. And we paid back the TAW from 2024 along with the interest. We did make the payment on the 2023 lease rental bond, and then we are going to do the 2025 TAW like we budgeted for during the budget process back in October. I reduced the sizing on that a little bit because we didn't need as big of a TAW once I got final cash flows. So I actually got that in today, and I reduced the final sizing on the TAW for 2025. So you won't see that on the sheet that's here, but because of the cash balances and then looking at the expenses that will come in January, we're able to reduce that, so that will result in less interest accrued during 2025. And then in the operations fund, again, we ended up in a very positive place. It's a little bit up from last year. Our claims were lower than what was expected. We didn't pay for one of the buses that we had expected to pay for, so we carrying that forward. And then also, we didn't have the circuit breaker tax cap loss that was projected by the DOGF throughout the year. So in our final settlement there of property tax, we got pretty much full levy, which was not what the circuit breaker showed there throughout the year. So that helped with year end. We are pulling forward $300K of the remaining appropriation into the 2025 budget. Same thing like with education fund. It provides that cushion, as well as setting forth appropriations. We're in a great place to take on some of the staffing that we know that we're going to need with the completion of these construction projects, which Martin will talk about here in a minute, as that relates with different people, whether that's maintenance personnel, technology personnel, janitors. All those different people are paid for out of the operations fund. So we're set up in a good place to start to work through that, as well as utilities. And so all those things are factored into the budget. We're sitting in a great place there as we move forward into 2025 in the operations fund. And again, you'll get those 2025 projections next month. I'm looking at tweaking a few things as I re-review where we're at, as I've got the actuals from year end, and then just looking at different code changes and pieces to make sure that we have stuff set up in the right places. One little quick note. I know I had emailed you guys this after the December board meeting, but again, just out in the public as well, is that we did make the adjustments to our 1782 notice that it was recommended. So we lowered our levy and cash balance for 2025 to hit that total tax rate goal. And so we lowered the total tax rate down to $1.03 for 2025 from $1.05 from last year. So it's down 2 cents. And that was something that the DLGF did approve. They sent back that certified budget order and all of that stuff. So again, just updating that in a public meeting that was taken care of. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Questions for me? Thank you very much. Ended up the year very well, and appreciate the hard work of you guys and all those in the central office as well, and principals as well. Okay, now we have the construction update. Mr. Irwin?
Yeah, so I'm going to bring Martin up here, and I've got his slideshow I'll get put up here on the screens for us. He's going to talk through just the latest happenings with our construction projects so that you guys can see some of that progress pictures, as well as just being able to put that up in a public meeting so that people are able to see that as well. So I've got it up here on the back screen. If you give me one moment here, I'll get it up on the other two screens that are forward-facing to everyone out in the crowd.
It does.
Yeah, well, Matt's getting that up. We're at the point in the project where it's kind of hard to keep our photographs up with our work. As we go through here, you will see that at the time the photographs were done, we hadn't filled in the north side of the activity center, and there's a lot more of the exterior skin of the early childhood than what you're going to see in the photos. But with that, we might as well start going through the photos. We're pushing hardest on the early childhood center. I know that's most critical, and quite frankly, that's got the most moving pieces to it. So we're pushing that kind of ahead of everything else. Early childhood center, like I said, if you went out there today, you'd see, well, from this angle, you wouldn't see that much more. We're getting the exterior metal framing in the windows. Those punch dumping you see will become windows. And the blue board is the exterior gyp board. On top of that goes insulation, on top of that goes brick.
North side, the back of the building, I've noticed.
They've got a lot more done on the north
Yeah.
side now.
Yeah.
And they've got the metal studs up on pretty much the north side of the classroom wing too.
Oh, good, good.
What we've done in the last 60 days is broke it out into Building B, which is the west end, and Building A, which is the east side, which is the classroom wing. In Building B, we're completed under slab plumbing. Excuse me. The slab is in place, and we've marked it for the new interior studs. Door frames are one of the first things you need to do before you start framing, and they're on site. On Unit B, most of the exterior wall, well, actually, we're a lot closer to 100% now of the exterior wall framing and the canopies. And again, we're putting the gypboard sheathing on. The mechanical ductwork will go in. Ideally, you put the ductwork in, and then you frame the walls to it. So that's where we are with that. So the next slide would be Unit A, which is again the classroom wing. The steel roof deck is done. Most of, and I think actually as of today, all of the mechanical underslab is done. And we're preparing to pour the SOG is slab on grade. We're preparing to pour the rest of the concrete slab. Site work, it's kind of cold out. We're not doing a lot of site work right now, but we are maintaining the entry road, and we've added some granular material, AKA gravel, on the north side of the building so we can move lifts and that type of thing around. Here's one of our aerial shots. You can see the bright, shiny metal deck up there. It's ready for roofing materials to start going on. And there's a shot from below. That shot's a few weeks back, showing the slab being poured on that west end of the building. That's your main entry. There's a canopy overhang that goes on the main entry. It's being framed out of those metal studs, which you see. The blue material is the gypboard. That stuff is durable enough. It can sit for about 3 months before we have to cover it up with insulation board. And there's a shot from the inside. Door frames are sitting there so we can start the walls as soon as the mechanical ductwork is up and there's all the ductwork there ready to be installed. Next 30 days, obviously, we'll continue site maintenance. Building A, slab on grade. We're hoping to get that maybe next week, depending on what the weather does in the next few days. We will need to get the roof on. The roof gets 4 inches of insulation over the whole thing. Once that's done and the membrane's on and the exterior framing and sheathing are on, we're getting to the point where we can heat the interior of the building and move a lot faster. We'll complete the mechanical duct work, and we'd like to think in the next 30 days we'll get a substantial start on the interior wall framing in Unit B, the west end. Like I say, we're pushing real hard on the early childhood, but we're also moving on the high school at the same time. Right now, we're on schedule with all the interior parts of the high school, and we're ahead on the, I keep wanting to say the field house, on the activity center. As you see, we've got insulation already sitting up there on the roof. Last 60 days, we were able to backfill it, so we've got your vehicle circulation back to where it was. The metal roof deck's done. We're doing blocking, which we attach the roof to. And as you saw there, materials are set on the roof deck. And we're preparing for the slab on grade at the high bay where the basketball courts are. We are not pushing that real hard, and we'll probably let the weather drive that. And again, we're literally months ahead on that at this point. There you see the roof material again on the roof, and where we've backfilled around the outside, and we've installed a perimeter drain there also. The slide on the right is the high bay, so you see all the roof metal there. We're finishing up the roof metal on the low bay. The low bay is where the toilet rooms, storerooms, and entries are. And it's getting pretty close. There you see it from the top. You see they've got the safety railings up. And that's what the concrete panels look like from the roof. The next 30 days, we need to get temporary roof drains in so we can keep the gravel where the slab goes dry. We'll complete the high and low bay roof insulation and membrane, and actually the high bay roof membrane will probably be on within the next 2 weeks. Complete under mechanical at the low bay so we can do this slab on grade there also. And then we can begin the interior and exterior block masonry. Renovations, phase 3 is turned over. And I think we've got a few punch list items left to do there. It's kind of hard to find new pictures of the interior renovation because we're kind of repeating as we go through. So here's some new pictures. That's a casework, and what you see, the two tall pieces of casework, if you open them up, they either have shelves in them like what's shown there, or they have a teacher wardrobe in them.
Walls that are already in that room that has a bunch of student artwork of the
Yes.
students that have gone through there. Not every room is blue.
It's not an exact match, but it's blue.
It looked better with the cabinets as well.
renovations the next 30 days, we begin Phase 5. And the goal is to turn over Phase 5 on March 7th at this point.
Phase 4 is almost completed as well. I think we got most of Phase 4 completed during the summer when we went in and got a lot of the flooring and painting and cove base done. So it's just waiting on the cabinetry that was going in. So that was what Dirk was talking about, some of the cabinetry that needs to be installed from that phase. And then we can do the punch list on those cabinets to see if there's anything that needs to be corrected. But Phase 4 was largely finished before we even got to that point in the
Yeah.
project because we got it during the summer leading into school.
And I think, Dirk, you've been using those spaces.
Yeah, we have. It's worked out well up to this point, now we're gonna be on a more regular schedule.
Primary school, Phase 3 is completed. Not a lot to say about that, completed and turned over for use. And again, trying to get some creative pictures of the casework as we move through. That's the new upper and lower casework, and then the cubbies. And in the next 30 days, we'll finish up Phase 4 and move on to Phase 5. Intermediate school completed in Phase 4 and prepared to turn over for use. Here's some photos of the corridors. One thing you may notice there on each side of the corridor, we've had to do quite a bit of repair where the old resilient base was on the walls. But Matt, I think the contractor that's doing that now is doing a really good job. And then you see the carpet in the corridor with the, I'm going to call it yellow and blue stripes that run down the length of the corridor. And you can see where we're moving in around the toilet rooms. All that tile you see around the toilet rooms and the drinking fountains will be replaced with a new tile, or covered with a new tile. Phase 4 will continue finishes and turn it over for use, and then we'll begin in February, we'll start Phase 5. And it's cold out, so that was quick. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to address it. I'm glad I'm not one of them.
I am too.
I saw it up on the list
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, there's nothing like being up in the air on a windy
Yeah.
4-degree day.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the hard work of not only skillmen, but our administrators and our teachers. School is very busy on a normal day, and I was really, to be honest with you, dreading this school year because I just pictured just a big mess and a lot of confusion all year long. And the plan has been great and has been implemented well to the point that we're progressing well. And now I'm not there every day, so but I think it's going very well and very smooth. We have confidence that that'll go till completion at the end of the year.
And let me say also that you guys are really good to work with. I know it's extremely disruptive, and I think you all, our field guy Dale, I think has worked with you well, and you've been a good group to accommodate our work.
Appreciate it. We love to hear being on time. I haven't heard that, and definitely haven't heard being ahead.
Well, like I say, we're pushing real hard on the early childhood center.
Yeah.
We've got a lot to do.
That's good, because we gotta have it. So keep pushing on that, so.
Thank you.
Bill Flick is your site manager. He showed me right over Christmas, Mr. Irwin. he's on top of it pretty good. I appreciate that, and he's,
He's one of our better ones. He's a good
yeah,
worker.
he was very good and patient with my silly questions, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. I think Troy did a good job, but Dale's definitely stepped it up, I think.
Yep.
We've had good experience overall, and it's construction, so things come up, and so
Right.
having someone here every day that helps us work through some of the issues that comes up has been helpful to not only the administrators and teachers, but our custodial staff, technology, maintenance, all of that stuff just helps alleviate some of those things that crop up during the day, and so it's definitely been a good experience so far, and we expect it to continue to be that way.
And we've had a good group of contractors.
Your guys' time is less, I don't know how to say it, less impeded on than it has been in previous building projects?
Yes, now Matt does a lot of work on that, and it's a team effort. But, yeah, I tell you, it's night and day to what our experience has been in the past.
That's what I was hoping you'd say.
Yes, night and day. So we're definitely thankful that we went with Lancer and Skillman, and we're looking forward to maybe, hopefully, continuing that partnership down the road. The drones, I think Larry mentioned the drones. Just things like that, there's certain phases of the project you can't really get your eyes on it, and that provides us with that opportunity to do that, and so it's very professional, and it's, like I said, it's night and day.
Have you found any significant change orders that are out of the norm that we need to be worried about?
Not at this point. We've got a couple things in the works that are additional. We had our base project, and we've come back, like at the print shop, where we're going to add some work. But that's added work, that's additional.
Really is making a big difference. We have a construction progress meeting here, and we have most of the contractors are around the table. So this room the table is full. And so with Martin and Dale, they before where we might not find out about a problem until it was too late. These issues are talked about in real time and are addressed in real time, and everybody's at the table, everybody's hearing the same conversation, and that's another area that's really making a difference.
To be able to get to, but from what I've seen is they're looking forward to what's going to be happening next, so that if something's not going to be ready, there's that communication ahead of time, and so not that that's happened very much, but still, it's, A's got to be done before B, then they're making sure that that's done and keeping on track of that. So I think with that many contractors, that is a very difficult thing to do, and so as smooth as it's going, we really appreciate that.
We have a couple challenging contractors, but all in all, I think everybody seems to be working together pretty well.
Okay. All right. Any further questions? Thank you so much. We appreciate your time this evening.
Thanks, Mark.
I'll see you in the morning.
All right. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you want, but
Martin is coming back for our work session that we're going to have on February 12th.
yeah, that's awesome.
February 12th.
Well, thank you. And stay warm out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have consideration to approve the recurring transfer resolution. Mr. Irwin?
Yeah, so this is the recurring transfers that we do from the education fund to the operations fund. And so we can transfer up to 15% of total revenue that comes into the education fund to the operations fund to support the staffing or benefits or things of that nature that are not supported in that fund through the regular levy when they change all the funds back in 2018, 2019 timeframe. If you go above 15%, then you get put on a list where you have to answer to the state about why you're transferring above that list and all of that piece. I put a number, I put 3.35 million on the transfer resolution as a number of a not to exceed. We do not plan to transfer 3.35 million. We plan about 2.7, which is barely above what we did this past year. This past year, we transferred about 11.9%. We'll be, again, well below the 15%. But again, what we've done is kind of like similar to what we said with other things. We set a threshold so that we don't have to continue to say we set it too low and say we have to change it. If I set it for 2.7 and we end up needing to do 2.705, we'd be right back doing another resolution for something like that. So we set that up to amount, and that's what we've done in the past as well. You guys see our transfers every month on my cash flow report, and so that's something that I specifically put on the education fund cash flow report and the operations fund cash flow report so that you see that movement every single month when I report out on that. So again, I'm asking for that up to amount. This is a yearly thing that we have to do. It's something that the auditors look for when they're in here, when they want to know what we're doing and why and who approved it. So we're asking for that approval. Yes, that is the up to amount that we're allowed to transfer per this resolution.
I move approval of the recurring transfer resolution.
Moved and seconded. Any comments?
On the cash flow, Mr. Urban, is that just spread across our, for a certain reason?
Yeah, monthly.
Just to show it's coming out every month?
Yep,
We're not-
yep.
You're just kind of doing that internally?
Yeah, so I look at the revenue, so I've looked at my projected revenue for 2025, and I look at it, I take a conservative number off of that to say what would be about 15% of that expected revenue in 2025 to say what is that up to amount that we feel comfortable using. Again, I'm $600,000+ below that right now in anticipated transfers, and so right now the plan is to transfer about 225 every single month during the year of 2025, and again, we've been transferring 225 every month for the last 6 months of 2024.
And that just sits in arrears somewhere? I mean, we're not, it's just being sitting there, right?
No,
Dormant?
it's moved from the education fund to the operations fund to
Every
support
month?
the expenditures
Okay.
every month, to
Okay,
support
got
the
it.
expenditures in the operations fund as it relates to payroll and benefits and all of those
Okay,
pieces.
all right.
It's moved and seconded, right? That's where we're at. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, permission to void corporation and ECA checks that are older than 2 years. Mr. Irwin?
Yeah, so this is, again, an annual thing that is in compliance with board policy. So we'd be voiding corporation and ECA checks that are 2 years old as of December 31st of 2024. Again, it's in compliance and a regular routine business per board policy. So asking for your approval to void those checks that are 2 years or older in corporation and ECA.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration to approve the S-Craft insurance invoice. Mr. Irwin?
Yeah, so we've been a member now with S-Craft for about 5 years. There's over 80 members. It's an insurance trust. And to this point, the service that we've experienced has been superb. They do a lot of work with us as it relates to mitigation. They bring out risk mitigation consultants and help us with those things. Their claim service has been terrific. Their responsiveness and helpfulness as it relates to looking over contracts and insurance requirements and giving feedback as it relates to the coverages that we have. So it's been a very positive experience. Our costs actually decreased by 0.8% over this past year. This is even with our total insured values and payroll numbers increasing, which obviously are factors in determining our premiums. The total invoice is for $417,053.66, and that's for our normal premiums. If we were to have any sort of other occurrences as far as like that, we might have to pay a deductible or other pieces, but this is for our regular premiums for the year 2025. We don't pay that in monthly installments. We pay it all up front at the beginning of the year, which is why you see in the operations fund, our claims in the operations fund in January every year are enormous compared to the other months because we're paying that sum out during the month of January.
have a motion?
A second. Those, there was no other way to pay it, if I remember right.
No, they require that it's paid up front, and it's not a cash flow issue for us, so it hasn't posed any issues for us at this
Okay.
point.
And we still have a $25,000 deductible?
Depending on what plan, so the property, so different
That's
different
okay.
coverages have different deductibles.
Well, we had a water
amount.
pipe break out there.
It's $25,000
Okay.
deductible, yeah,
Okay,
on property.
got it.
Yeah.
Anything further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have consideration to approve EECC rates for 2025-2026, my goodness, school year and class offerings. And we have Heather Kinzig with us this evening.
Kind of crazy to think that we're already at that point again to be planning for registration for next year, but we're hoping to open registration March 3rd, like we typically do. So we need to figure out the rates and class offerings for the next school year. Last year, we did not raise rates across the board. Our half-day rates stayed $16 per day for half-day students, and full-day pre-K students stayed at $32, which is what it was the year before. So we didn't raise those. The only tuition that we did raise last year was for our full-day 3-year-old students, and we did that. It had always been the same as the pre-K students, but those full-day 3-year-olds have a lower student to teacher ratio, so you can't have as many students in the class. So to kind of make up that difference, we raised that tuition by $3 a day, so they pay $35 a day instead of $32. So this year we're proposing to go ahead and raise those rates for each age level, so $1 a day for our half-day students, so that would go up to $17 a day, and $2 a day for full-day students, whether they're 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds. So $34 a day for our pre-K students that are 4 at the beginning of the school year, and $37 a day for 3-year-olds at the beginning of the school year. And that just allows us to continue to be competitive with the local preschool and daycare rates in our community, and we've done staff pay increases over the last few years, so to be able to continue to do that, we need to continue to raise the tuition.
Projections of the upcoming opening of the preschool building, and how this will support the increased need for staffing as it relates to the additional classrooms that will open. So that's something that Heather and I have been meeting on monthly or bi-monthly, doing those projections and working out all the timelines of when we need to do certain things, whether that's the need for more custodians or the need obviously for leads and IAs and the health aid and all these different pieces. And so that's something that we've been hard at work on, and we feel confident that these rates will help support the program that we've been providing. So.
We're still subsidizing part of this too, as a corporation, right?
Yes, the preschool is not a moneymaker. It's
Right.
not a revenue maker for the school.
Yeah, I
We
was
have a
talking,
motion on the 25-26 rates for E EECC.
I move approval.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. So this isn't taking account the increased enrollment that we could have and an increase, because we're going to custodial and maintenance and technology, we're going to have a lot more to do. So,
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Any other questions?
the other thing I was going to ask, Heather, was the projection that you're saying 158 to 209? Is that just a wide range there? That's half-day, full-day combined next year?
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll talk a little bit more about the class offerings in
Okay.
the next thing, but yes, that is,
Right.
that low end is like really low if like every student was 5 days a week, because we would be enrolling fewer students. So that's like if every spot was filled with a 5-day-a-week student instead of like 2-day students and 3-day students, we would have that really low end enrollment.
Right.
So it should be closer to that high end, or even, it could even be higher. It won't be higher than that. It could be higher than that if everybody was 2 days or 3 days. You know what I'm saying? We have a lot of
Correct,
students
right.
that are 5 days, but we still have several that are 2 days and 3 days. So
All right.
that low end is only if everyone were a 5-day-a-week student. That's like our total daily seats.
Okay, and then this is just from my knowledge, if these daily rates, do some of the kids get any type of governmental, like
Yeah,
if
so
they're
we
on?
have On My Way Pre-K, so students who are.
That's what that's for then?
That is for 4-year-olds who meet certain income
Okay,
requirements, and then their parents have to be either working or in school or job searching. And then for younger students who don't qualify for On My Way Pre-K, we accept CCDF vouchers, which is childcare vouchers for any age of students whose parents meet those qualifications as
who
well.
administers that? Those who gives those vouchers?
It's through the state of
Through
Indiana.
state, okay.
Because we're a passive quality 4 program, that allows us to accept those monies as well, which is one of the important parts of us maintaining that.
And that's about the time we bumped up the rates, was when we became that designation, correct? That's right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think that through. Okay. All right, thanks.
And our On My Way Pre-K students, we get $348 a week from a student who is eligible for On My Way Pre-K. And so that is helping to bring in more money than what we're
Than what we're charged?
charging, yes.
Okay.
Kind of helps subsidize the program as a whole.
Okay. So that helps then quite a bit.
And I don't have exact numbers, but I think we have maybe around 15 students who are eligible for On My Way Pre-K.
Okay.
I think having more space and being able to accept more students in the new building will
Right.
increase that, not just because we have more space, but I think that opens up, it makes the program a little bit more accessible for those families, because it's
Right.
hard to get in right now because you have to register right when it opens.
I've heard of
and-
that, yeah, they
Yes.
set their timer to,
So I think.
yeah, to enroll that night, yeah. I've heard those concerns. So, but I assume that we're doing a good job of telling parents about these subsidies that they can get through these different vouchers.
Yes, and
that's
actually
some
last
coaching.
year, we made it part of the enrollment process that
Okay,
families
awesome.
had to at least do the initial part of the application to see if they would qualify. Because sometimes families think that they won't qualify for assistance,
Right.
but they do. So we made it part of the process that they have to go through that and prove that they did that initial part where it says, yes, you should complete the application, or no, you wouldn't qualify.
Right, okay, thank you.
Anything further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And now we'll talk about the class offerings for next year.
Yeah, so with the new building and having increased enrollment, it's a little hard to lay out, like, this class will definitely be this offering. But I laid it out a little bit differently for you this year with, we will be offering a full-day pre-K class for students who would be eligible for kindergarten or K-5 the following year, so they have to be 4 by September 1st. We would also have full-day preschool for 3-year-olds, so students that would be 3 by August 1st in order to be eligible for that. And then our half-day classes, which we've continued to have, that would be a multi-age class for 3, 4, or 5-year-olds. And the times of those would stay the same, roughly 6 hours a day or 2.5 hours a day for half-day. Even though we might have to adjust the, like, drop-off and pick-up schedule, I want the hours that we've had in the past to be the same. We won't shorten the day or lengthen the day. But we still kind of need to determine what drop-off and pickup will look like in that new building to lay out an exact schedule. One additional thing that I want to consider for next year is being able to enroll students at 30 months, so 2.5 at the beginning of the school year. That is something that we are able to do with our legally licensed exempt status. And if we have open spaces in our 3-year-old class, we could enroll those kids that don't quite meet that August 1st deadline if they are at least 30 months to help fill that space a little bit more. That also gives, if we had one class that was dedicated as a young 3s classroom, that gives us a space to move up our kids in the staff daycare as they turn 3 throughout the school year, and we need to move them up to be able to enroll the new babies that are being born throughout the school year and need to enroll. So it's going to be a little bit fluid of kids moving, where right now what we have, once you have to be this age by the beginning of the school year, and that's it. But with staff daycare, we're gonna have kind of a constant enrollment throughout the year as staff need that for their babies. So we kind of need to have a space in the preschool for those oldest kids to move into as they get older.
And a lot of that goes back to our nice conversation of continuing to maximize the use of the space and the spots that we have to serve the kids. So the need is driving those offerings and the things that we make available. Heather's been really good at looking into kind of where we've been at, what the need looked like, some of those different options. She's been very attuned to those different factors, been really helpful in creating that, of just saying, I know one of the things that's been something that the board is continuing to press upon is maximizing the use of the facility and its availability to students, because we do have the wait list. And so this is just another one of those things that allows us to do that and serve as many kids as possible in the best possible way.
And one other thing to add about that, if we do enroll kids that are under that 3, that does change the ratio of teachers to students. So instead of 1 to 10, it's 1 to 7 for that age group of 2.5 to 3. So I'd like to put in the enrollment information that priority will be given to students who are 3 by August 1st, and if we can fill those spaces with those kids, we will. But if we have space and it makes sense to take younger kids, we would do that.
I'll move approval of the EECC class offerings for 25-26.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I just have a quick question. This is where I get hit by people with church and so forth with kids. At 250, the time frame that we have for our preschool, is it comparable to the other preschools in the area? Because I really don't know. Or do we have anything beyond there's no latchkey?
There is.
Oh, there is?
Yes. So
Until-
currently, there's latchkey only for 4-year-olds
Okay.
or staff kids, if they're 3 years old, can go to latchkey.
Okay.
So it's an additional cost, but it's run through the EPS latchkey program. But in the new building, we're planning to have latchkey staff to staff preschool latchkey in the EECC building. So
Till what time now?
I think it's
Like, working parents are
5:30.
asking me this, and I don't know the answer.
I think it's open until 5:30,
Five.
right?
Yeah, I think it's 5:30 or 6 as far as the open time, and that's one of the things that'll come to you in the future months, will be the review of latchkey, kind of talk about some of the proposed changes that we're looking at for next school year to, again, try to accommodate as many families as possible, and how that relates to the opening of the new building and kind of the adjustment of that, and then also bringing forth to you the recommendations for rates and how we'll talk about how we plan to staff that as far as the daycare goes as well. So all of those pieces will be forthcoming. This one was the most pressing, because you have to get the enrollment open by March 1st to make sure that we're hitting those deadlines. So that's why this comes to you guys in January of each year. The latchkey and the daycare will come to you guys most likely here in February. That'll come down the road. We'll set those times and make those adjustments again, trying to serve more families. They'll have availability to do that. We're looking at the structuring of the staffing in the new preschool to try to better accommodate latchkey as far as some of the challenges. It's hard to find people to work latchkey. Those are odd hours that not everybody's wanting to come in and work. So to find the people to work early mornings and then late afternoons is also kind of a very unique pool of people that might be applying to. Yes, it's before and after school, yes. And so we're trying to set up the staffing of it maybe a little more creatively in the future that might make it more appealing for people to work different types of shifts that would cover not only preschool, but latchkey as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about that at the future meeting, but we're trying to be creative in the way that we do that without, taking costs and running them way high.
And our ceiling is going to be 200 preschool next year. That's going to be our top end.
A little over 200,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And that's just the
Half day
preschool,
and full day, both combined. Okay.
and not daycare, though. The
Correct.
staff daycare would be
That's coming in another
additional.
meeting, the
Yep.
daycare, okay.
But to answer your question, no, our preschool is a shorter day than a lot of daycare centers, but it's more running on like a school schedule than a
Right. That's kind of
daycare.
where I get
Yeah.
confused. Yeah, okay. I'll just have them call you.
So is preparing for a brand-new large buildings with all the trimmings, is that like herding cats? It seems like it'd be very hard to think of everything that would go into that. So
Yeah.
appreciate the hard work, and that's got to be tough. Gotta
Well,
be
I just
tough.
appreciate anticipating, like she was talking about, the kids that are aging out of the daycare into, and perhaps the 2.5-year-olds being moved into it. I never would have thought of that, but yeah, that's calculus.
All right. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Awesome, thank you very much. Now there's consideration to approve the Johnson Controls Service Agreement. Mr. Irwin?
Yeah, so this is a 2-year agreement with Johnson Controls, and it also has not only in it some of the service pieces, but it's got wrapped into it the replacement of some major control engines, which are something that we knew we needed to do dating back to our facility study, right? So we're still knocking out some of those things that came up on that. Some of those control engines are over 20 years old, so they've definitely served their purpose, but they're in need of updating. And so in that document, it is the replacement of 2 main control engines. Kind of think of them as like the big brains of the HVAC system in that building, 2 of them each year of that 2-year agreement, and that would be wrapped into the quarterly installments that we would get billed for. But again, that will take care of not only just the continual upkeep of those systems, but the replacement of some long overdue pieces that need to be updated. So Christine has reviewed the document. All of the recommended changes were made, and there was one place where they made a concession, and Christine was good with that. But again, this has been reviewed by Christine, and they've come back and checked all that stuff. So again, just want to give you some of the pertinent information as it relates to the agreement.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Glad we're moving to get some of those big items taken care of. So, okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Irwin. Now we have consideration to approve the SMART Grant Amendment Agreement, and Dr. Sanders.
Yes, so this is an annual request. You're familiar with the SMART grant we received from the federal government in partnership with IU, $3.4 million grant to address mental health. And this is just a formality, really, that where we have to ask the board to extend the grant throughout 2025. And then that enables us to pay IU for the services they provide, and that payment is $189,384. And as you know, our mental health program continues to really have a great positive impact on our school corporation.
Approval of the SMART grant agreement.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next is consideration to appoint Nancy Van Allen to the Monroe County Library Board of Trustees.
So RBB is given the opportunity to have a representative on the Monroe County Public Library Board of Trustees, and I am recommending Nancy Van Allen to serve in that role. It's a 4-year term. When I approached Nancy about it, she was very excited about it, and I guarantee you she will do a great job.
I move approval of the appointment of Nancy Van Allen to the Monroe County Library Board.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Nancy was the person that succeeded me as the chair of the English department when I retired, and then she moved into the library at the high school, and she's one of the most conscientious people I've ever met, and I would never question her integrity in the least. So I think she's a great choice.
pretty awesome. I always love, every time you talk to her, she just seems so
So positive.
enthusiastic
Yes,
about it.
yes.
So we, I really enjoyed that, so. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now, we have our Neola policies to approve. They were informational last month. This month, it would be an action item. So we're talking about Neola policies, volume 34, number 1, volume 36, number 1, volume 36, number 2, and the Edgar UGG revisions, volume 36, number 2, and 37, number 1. Dr. Sanders.
Yes, so as you're familiar with our regular process, in fact, we just had a visit from our Neola representative last week. Matt and I had a good conversation with Jim Halleck, who's our representative, and I know that you had a lot to review last month. They were presented to you, gave you a month to review those. You know, they never give us that in really nice, easy to read print. It's always very small print, but it's very important. And we go through that. We go through it with Jim Halleck. We also, Matt and I go through it. And then we, depending on what the policy is, we'll have a director or principal review that, and to make sure that the options we select are right for Edgewood schools. And so I bring these to you tonight as an action item, and ask that you approve these policy revisions.
Upgrades.
I'll say.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
It's amazing how often they have to say the same thing over and over again. How many times I saw references to carrying weapons and acceptable use policies. It was over, I don't know, at least 8 times each. But anyway,
Yep.
yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And now is consideration to approve a resolution authorizing the submission of the 1003 flexibility waiver. Dr. Sanders?
Yes, and the board's also very familiar with the 1003 flexibility waiver that we apply for every year. We use that opportunity to track our instructional time by minutes rather than days. And because we have a significantly higher amount of instructional minutes than are required, our students actually come to school 178 days, but they still exceed the amount of required instructional time. But that enables our teachers, probably just as important as anything else, is opportunities for our teachers to sit down with parents during parent-teacher conferences. That's usually held with Flex Day number 1, which is in November. And then the second one is used for, to give a combination of professional development time and also teachers' time to collaborate with one another and to prepare their materials. We have to submit this application, and it's due April 25th. We will get it in far before that. We've already gone ahead, and I hope it doesn't jinx us, but we've already put that on the calendar for next year. Just so we can communicate with our parents and give them a heads up on that. So I recommend that the board approves this resolution, which gives us the opportunity to be able to apply for the application.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And now we have consideration to approve the final site agreement, and we have Jennifer Barrett for that tonight.
Good evening. So Final Site may not be super familiar to you. You may be more familiar with Blackboard. It's a program that we've used for years and years. That's really our communication tool. So when our friendly cold superintendent calls letting us know we have a 2-hour delay, Blackboard was bought out by Final Site. So last time I was here, a couple months ago, I talked with you guys about the marketing team at the high school and the progression that this team has made over the last several months to really telling our story here at Edgewood. When you read social media, when you read stories on the website, really anything right now that's coming out Edgewood related, it's written by students, minus maybe our emails out to families and things like that. I think we'd have a couple students who would volunteer for that job, Dr. Sanders, but they haven't gotten to that point yet. So Final Site has some other services that are related to it besides just sending out those all calls and those text messages and things like that. It also allows us to take our website and not just redesign that, like let's just give it a new design and then let's walk away from it. It's about designing it so that it connects to, on the back end, our school app, all of our communication tools, our social media sites. So what it does is it turns our communication into a one-size-fits-all platform. Right now, what's happening is Brittany Tucker is basically getting all of these submissions coming to her for the website, for social media, you name it. She's having to go through, check all of these out, and then post it here, post it there, put it on the website, send it out, and go through these things one step at a time. Obviously, you can imagine that would slow down the process quite a bit. What Final Site does is on the back end, it combines all of that into one platform so that students can submit a story about our girls' basketball game on a Tuesday night. They submit that on Wednesday morning. Mrs. Tucker reads that, and with the click of just a few buttons, it can be posted on our website. It can go out to our social media platforms. It can even go out as a text to parents saying, hey, check out our new post on the website about our girls' basketball team. So what it does is it makes things a heck of a lot easier. It also allows us to have checks and balances in place if we're going to have students working in this field. The last thing we want is for them to be able to write something and it automatically be published for people to see. Our best hope is that there might be grammar mistakes that need to be corrected. Our worst hope is that something gets posted that obviously shouldn't be. So it just allows for those extra pieces in between. The hard part is coming to you and saying, we need to do something with our website, but in order for all of these things to sync up together, that's part of the process in terms of how that works. We don't want our website to be independent of all of these other pieces that we're putting in place. So I'm bringing to you the Final Site agreement. It's a piece that Rick met last year, Dr. Sanders met. We also met with a company called Aptogee, which we were really comfortable with. We really liked their platform, but it didn't make sense to go with something outside of Final Site like we're already using. So it really made sense to go ahead and just streamline all of those services together into one platform, make things as easy as possible. Christine reviewed the contract. We went back and forth with them a little bit on terms, but I feel really good with where we came out as far as cost goes. So it is a yearly cost. We would be committing to them for 3 years and have the option to sign on for 1 year at a time after that at the cost they've provided. And then that would give us all the additional features that come along with the communication platform.
And so what is that cost?
$5,900 in year one, and it goes up. Thank you.
We're paying right now, so for all the things that are coming along with it and how it connects to the experiences that we're giving students, it's a really good move on our end.
Yeah, I just wanted the number on the record.
I move approval of the final site agreement.
Moving second, any discussion?
back
I
on,
just- I
go
think it's
ahead.
great that the students are going to be more active getting our story told. And,
Yeah.
And it just makes a lot of sense that we're coordinating things in
Yeah.
that way.
The package that we asked you to approve the final site is a little different as far as designing our website. It gives the kids multiple options, so think about templates that they can choose from, and then mix and match what it's going to look like. So for the first time, our kids are actually going to design our website. And what's cool about that is, let's say a year from now, we're like, that doesn't really work very well. We need to replace that with a different feature. We can do that at no cost, and it's just simply switching out the apps and that sort of thing on there. So it's going to give us a lot of freedom. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see these kids sit down and start to think about what this can look like, what they want it to look like, getting input from families at all levels. This will be the first time really that they've reached out for input and asking for those kinds of things. So it's going to be a fun process to work through with them. Yeah.
So there is some checks and balances. That's where the
Absolutely.
temperature checks, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Beyond this, is somebody in the back room somewhere? Because I could see,
Oh, yeah.
I could see, yeah, because, yeah.
How much fun could we have with this? Yeah, no, lots of
Right.
checks and balances in place. And there will be guidelines there. We don't want to close in on them too tight, but allowing them to kind of bounce between those a little bit. But I do think that it will allow our website to be a lot more streamlined. And I think what you'll see is that the app that you have on your phone will mirror that. So talking with Vicky Coffee and those types of pieces, like there's just going to be a lot more streamlining, so not as much punching around to find what you need.
Okay.
Yeah. One more step.
Last school law seminar, they were talking about how these days there's a lot of things that can be put out there that seem mundane and innocuous that are actually very powerfully meaning of something totally different than what you would think.
Yeah, exactly,
So,
exactly.
I hope they can keep up with it.
I hope so too. I think this will make Brittany's life easier, but she may come to us in 6 months and say otherwise.
I know I always had to go through the senior night announcements with a fine tooth comb because they would always try to get, and I know at least twice they got something by me that I didn't realize.
I could see that. I could see that. We have some stinkers, but they are really great kids. Yep.
Very creative.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. So we have moved and seconded, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. President, Dr. Sanders, I have another obligation. I'm going to have to ask permission to leave. Board,
Thank you.
thank you. You're leaving at the best part. Well, I know. I always check and see how many pages you've got on that.
Is there, you don't think there's some correlation there?
Pure coincidence.
Yes, pure. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, thank you, Jennifer. Okay, next is Dr. Sanders' report.
I'm very excited about this report tonight because, and this is something I present every January, and it outlines the 5 goals that I have as superintendent for the school corporation. And I would venture to say that most everything that we talk about from month to month in our board meetings can be tied back to one of these 5 goals. And I think that just says something about why our school corporation is having the success it's having the impact it's having on our students, is because we have a united vision on what we want to do as a school corporation. The first goal is to continue providing students and staff with a safe school environment. And we talk all the time about our school safety team, and we meet monthly on that. It involves all of our schools, our SROs, and every month we're looking at ways to improve school safety. We already mentioned our strong mental health team tonight. Superintendent goal number 2 is to continue leading RBB to a position of financial strength and we talked about that tonight. Sometimes I think, well, you know, we use that phrase, doing business better, and that was really something that I think, well, that was really important, you know, when I first became superintendent, and because we had a lot of areas we needed to improve on, we needed to do better. And sometimes I think we ought to say doing business well, because I think that's where we are, is we're doing business well. And a lot of credit goes to Matt for that we continue to look for ways to improve the efficiency and targeting ways for potential savings. And, you know, I'm very proud that I could say to our community, I do believe from the bottom of my heart that we make good use of our taxpayer funds. We do well to prepare our students for a future successful life, and we work hard to stay competitive with other educational options, and we definitely have to do that. It's very competitive these days, and we are one of the few school corporations in the area that is showing growth in enrollment, and we don't have a declining enrollment, and I think that says something about our school corporation. All right, goal number 3 is to have a sustained growth in enrollment, and we're continually working and finding ways to make sure that we're achieving that goal. We talked about that tonight with our preschool and the expanding the EECC and the paths of quality being at level 4. We started the Edgewood Showcase as a way to bring the community to our campus and bring our elementary parents and preschool parents up to the junior high and high school and seeing what great things that we're doing there, and that's been a tremendous success. Have you seen the Edgewood magazine that the students have put out? That just looks so professional. We're trying to find ways to put that in print and somehow send it out. We're trying to find an economical way of doing that. But that's not only is the magazine awesome, but when you think about these are students telling the Edgewood story. Can't beat that. Goal number 4 is to continue a strong partnership between the school corporation, families, local businesses, and the community. As you know, we bring in our Edgewood Business Leaders Advisory Team twice a year. We meet with our partners on a regular basis. Boys and Girls Club, Boston Scientific, Cook Medical, IU Health, the local organizations, the Police Department, and Vision Ellisville, Chamber of Commerce. We are all in this together. And I think, once again, you know, I don't believe that you see such a great example in other communities as the partnerships we have between the school corporation and the community here in Ellisville and the surrounding areas. And goal number 5 is to lead RBB in creating an educational environment designed to prepare students to chase their dreams in tomorrow's world. That comes from, you know, once again, we talk about this probably every month, talk about ready schools, high reliability schools, an innovative learning center, or student-run businesses from preschool through high school. It's just very important that we are preparing our students to chase their dreams. We have a group going to San Antonio next Tuesday, another group, and we'll have an opportunity, a whole brand new group of teachers that will go down there, and as board members, you'll know what they're going to experience, and they're going to bring that back, combine with that with what they've talked with other teachers about who have gone before, and the HRS process is going to continue to make a difference in our community, our school community, for years to come. And then finally, let me just say real quick, I appreciate the patience of our students and parents and staff when we have to make last-minute decisions like we did this morning. we do our best to, first of all, number one priority is make sure that any of those decisions that student and staff safety come first. Even though the announcement might come late, even though some may say, well, did you really have to do that? And I'll just say that every decision related to these decisions for a 2-hour delay or cancellation is made in the best interest of the safety of our students and staff. And that you always err on the side of caution. We just had a perfect storm this morning in terms of that we had cold weather, and also we had some illness among our bus drivers. And normally, on a normal day, we will work with, the bus drivers will work with one another and collaborate. In fact, listening to the radio, I mean, that's a perfect example of collaboration, because they work as a team to get all the students picked up and delivered to school. But what made this morning different, made me decide to just cancel school today, was that you really can't, when you have to piece routes together, you can't really predict how long of a delay it might be. And on a normal day, we try to always make that 5-10 minutes, but depending on the bus routes, it could be longer. And given the cold weather, I just didn't want to risk that. And so that's why we didn't have really time to get ready for an e-learning day, so we just canceled it, and we'll make that up on April 18th. We believe we're set for tomorrow, unless we get another last-minute situation there. But at any rate, I appreciate everybody's patience.
EA comments. We have Mr. Yules here this evening.
Well, good evening. It's good to see everybody. Back to a new year, third week. Hopefully we can get some traction, but Mother Nature intervenes sometimes. That's the way it is. I wanted to just echo Larry DeMoss's comments about Nancy Van Allen. When you said conscientious, that's the word that comes up when I think about her. She's always willing to jump in and does the best job. So congrats to her. It was good to see the renovation pictures. I'm just in my little silo a lot, teaching, adding and subtracting and things. I don't get around to see all those things, and that was pretty neat. Also at the high school, it's gone pretty well, from my experience anyway. I had fun on a cart from Thanksgiving till Christmas, and we had a good time with it, and it's worked out pretty well. And I know that's probably a lot because of you guys, admin and everything, working ahead of time, making a schedule. And as you said, Dr. Sanders, you probably were worried it was going to be total chaos this year. So were we. Honestly, and I don't know the pulse of every building, but by and large, it has. I haven't heard a lot of yelling and screaming, so that's always good, because sometimes I do. So glad it's gone as well as it can be, honestly, because when these things, you're going to have these over a school year, it's going to get a little bit messy. I feel like 2010 or whenever that was maybe it seemed crazier back then, because maybe there's more going on. But regardless, it's gone well. My mind's on the State House right now. Most of you probably know we're at the long session, which is a 2-year budget crafting and all that. So for sure, public ed has its eyes on that. And for me anyway, I mentioned this briefly to Dr. Sanders, but don't be surprised if I come knocking on your door for a statement of support about collective bargaining and professionals bargaining for their rights. Nothing's come up in bills, but it's just a big rumor that our legislators might be coming after the right to bargain. And from my 12 years or so of experience, we are better with it than without it on both sides. It puts us both at the table, work out something that's truly called a collective bargaining agreement, and I think we're all the better for it. So again, if that day comes, I may ask for your support. So, but until then, we'll keep hoping for the best and our fingers crossed, and see if we can get to school tomorrow. Thank you.
Board member comments, Mr. DeMoss.
Just to echo what Mr. Eulis was just saying, I'm going to be attending the School Board Association Legislative Action Day on February 18th, and so I'm looking forward to, I've been following some of the legislation that has been offered. There's nothing there, but I have heard the same rumors you have. What has been offered is deeply concerning as far as property tax cuts and how that's going to affect individual school districts, including ours. So I encourage everybody to, if you have the ear of a legislator, let them know what you're thinking. Just to clarify, we have used 2 e-learning days, and today was just one of, we're going to have to use one of our snow days. What if we have another big, how many e-learning, we got one more e-learning day?
We have one more e-learning day. We use our 3 asynchronous.
Right.
So asynchronous means it's not live,
Right.
but we are exploring the idea of working towards synchronous e-learning days. Jennifer Barrett's been working on that with principals and others in the school corporation. Synchronous learning days are unlimited. I mean,
Right.
but you're limited to 3 asynchronous days per the state.
Okay, so I just,
So,
people know that that's something that
Right.
is, and because we haven't gotten hit this hard
So-
this early for a
so
while.
if we have another day off, it'll be e-learning. And since we're already making up the April 18th day, it would be at the end of we have a snow days at the end of the school year.
Okay.
But, like I said, we're looking towards maybe trying to use synchronous learning.
All right. Thanks for the building updates. Thanks very much to the Coffee Corral. It was delicious. Last month, I became the ex officio member of the redevelopment commission for the town of Ellisville, and 2 resolutions were passed out of that, and they are going to the planning commission. I'll try to keep you up to date on that, but that's where we are. And I'm excited for the group that's going to HRS. I down to San Antonio and got to talk to one of the attendees who's, I think that he's, feels like his career has been revitalized over the last couple of years by what we're doing with professionalization of our teaching staff. So I appreciate it. So thank you.
Well, I was very happy to see the updates on construction. It's just, I'm in awe of everything that our corporation is doing all the time. So it's very exciting. Thank you again for the donor choose, for giving us donations. We super appreciate that. I have an idea about the magazine, about the website. Maybe the students can put a magazine on there, one like you would get at Kroger's for, when you're looking through their ads. And if a parent or somebody wants to be able to print it off, have the option of being able to print it off, and that would save us a lot of money. That would give students the ability to put their work on there. So just a thought as you were talking about that. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for all who attended tonight, this chilly evening, and I'm going to echo what Mr. Ewell said there. We're on an island right here. We've got a pretty good school situation going on here, but it's not that way throughout the state, and the state legislature handles the whole state. So we have to be proponents of our area, and if we don't pay attention, it will sneak up on us. Even the same with, as Mr. Damach mentioned, the redevelopment commission and the potential large commercial TIF district that they're proposing. We need to be on top of that and work together with the town. I'm looking forward to that.
Appreciate everybody coming this evening. With the construction update, I just want to say I am so thankful to the teachers and staff. I think it is going pretty well. I haven't heard that many complaints myself. When I do, I just talk about growing pains, and they all laugh and say, yep. And so we'll get through it. So I appreciate them. I would like to ask for prayers for my wife and her family. My wife's mom is in the end stages of, or the end of the end stages for dementia, and so it may be hours or a day, but it's going to be soon. And so her and her family would really appreciate it. Her mom's name, my wife is Tishker, Letitia Kerr Tishker, and her mom is Claudia Hazel. The Hazel family has been important in RBB schools, has been important in the Ellisville community, and her grandma, Tisha's grandma and grandpa are on the dad's side. We're friends with Morris and Enright, and had a lot to do with things back then. So there's a lot of ties, and also it would be John Kerr's grandmother. So please pray for John as well. But again, I just ask for prayers for that, for the family, because it's really difficult right now. So again, thank you all for coming. This meeting's adjourned.